to Apothecary After Dark.
Welcome to Season 2 of Apothecary After Dark, Amityville Apothecary's official podcast where we talk about everything you want to know about what goes on behind doors when they're locked and lights are low in a metaphysical witchy shop. I am your co-host and co-owner of the Apothecary, Dina Rosenberg.
Hi guys, I'm Dani, also known as Danielle.
AKA.
Did you miss us? So happy to be back for Season 2.
Listen, the last 2 episodes, Danielle was in Portland, Oregon. That's why she wasn't on those last 2 episodes with the kids, which if you haven't watched those episodes, please do give a look at all the amazing episodes that are available everywhere podcasts are streamed and on our YouTube channel. And while you're at it, before we get into the meat and potatoes of today, if you can give us a follow, a like, and a subscribe, we would greatly appreciate it. It means so much to us.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk about divination.
Bum, bum, bum.
So it's really interesting. You know, we have a lot of authors, a lot of different books, and a lot of different perspectives here in the shop. And I was listening to one of our authors talk about why they no longer do divination prior to their magical working. So in the past, when they were, getting ready to do a magical spell, they would, do a tarot reading or do some geomancy or do some type of divination to make sure that, everything was primed, ripe, and ready for that magic to take effect. And then I want to say, a few years ago, they had decided that they were going to get readings from a couple of different people in well-regarded readers in their field. They had 2 different types of readings, and they had asked about their financial prospects for the year. Because, let's be honest, we all ask that question, right?
Sure.
How are we going to tell us about our money, right? And both of those very different readers told them they were going to have a terrible money year.
Which has got to be upsetting to hear.
Listen, way to set up the energy, right?
Yeah. It's like, wow, Debbie Downer, thank you for that information.
And so what did they decide to do? They decided to pretend like those readings never happened. They decided to be like, you know what? I'm going to pretend that I never heard this information, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make this an amazing year. They still did their magic. They still did all of their workings. They paid no attention to the readings that they got, and they wound up having the most financially successful year that they've ever had as an entrepreneur. So I really want to talk about that because, we get asked these questions all the time in the shop about money, about love, about relationships, and you've gotten readings. Danielle gets way more readings than I do.
Dina's very protective of her energy. She doesn't like to get read. And I'm pretty much an open book because I'm like, tell me what you got. Let's talk. And then what a reading does for me, it validates what I know. But this actually segues directly into the conversation. So when you brought up the theme, I was very I was like, yeah, this is a great topic because I definitely have strong views on it. Some differs from she just made the decision that she's not going to consult divination. I do consult divination, but as we were talking earlier, what it does is it provides insight to your current energy now.
Exactly.
So, we have a lot of customers that come in and they express some concern or apprehension or even fear, and they say, I can't get a reading because what if they tell me something bad? And I said, wait a minute, let's just take a time out because that is not the purpose of what a reading does. So what a reading does is it will perhaps uncover or reveal or hone in on current factors or insights or considerations of your energy or situation right now that you'll have a niggling inside and you'll say that hits because it's accurate and you really in your higher self know the truth already. So it should really serve to validate and then inform about your options of how you choose to proceed because you always at your core have your free will to decision upon this. So that's the value of consulting with divination tools or third-party readings or, pulling a card, but you always have free will to decision upon it, and that can be extraordinarily empowering.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tend to really not do a ton of divination. I used to do, like, in January, a wheel of the year. In July, halfway through the year. This July, I didn't even bother doing it. Like Daniel said, I tend to not love readings because, to be quite frank, I don't really give a shit what you have to say about my life. And it's really interesting because I think the last reading that I received because listen, we have, obviously you guys met Samantha, the last 2 episodes. And in order for us to make sure that the people that read here and for us in a professional capacity are good at what they do, they have to read both of us.
Right.
And then we have to have a conversation about what we think about it. So, like, yes, I have to get read because I need to be able to make sure that we're vetting the people that are working here and giving you readings. We need to make sure that they're not charlatans and frauds.
Right. And also sometimes we lie to ourselves. So we go to a third party or we go to these tools or we seek a reading because we're biased. If we have an interest in a specific outcome, of course, we're going to lie to ourselves and say, like, I don't like that answer. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it.
I want another card. I want another card.
So it's helpful to have an unbiased third party providing this type of insight and saying, have you considered this? This is what I'm seeing. And they are reading your current energy.
Right.
Now, how you choose to proceed is up to you.
Right. And it's your current energy. So, like, that's the thing. Like, if this particular person who was getting that divination around their financial prospects for that year were in some type of way, maybe they overspent their credit card and they had opened their credit card bills and they were feeling super, like, overextended financially, you're, as the reader, going to pick up with that energy. Like, as somebody that reads for other people, occasionally myself, that's really what you're doing, is you're tapping into their energy and using the cards or using the divinatory system that you have in front of you to create a story of the energy that you have in front of you.
Right. Like, that's a person who is an author. So perhaps at that moment they were suffering creative block.
Right.
And that they weren't believing in themselves that they actually could write and publish a book. Or maybe they were, like, procrastinating so that they would miss deadlines. All of those factors would tie into an abysmal outlook, because if all factors remain the same, this is the most likely outcome. However, the opposite person can say, challenge accepted. I'm going to go big, and I'm not going to stop until I surpass every goal. And, like, this is a good wake-up call to me. I'm going to snap out of this rut that I'm in, and I'm going to go double down and really focus.
Yeah.
I mean, when you and I used to live together in Astoria, and we were very, very young in our careers, and we were living on a shoestring budget, and Dina would say to me, like, I don't know, we don't have money for this. I'm like, we'll make more.
All the time. Oh my God.
And, like, now sometimes you'll say that to me. And, like, but we always did, because we weren't deterred from it. And we weren't going to stop that from doing it. And, like, we always just figured it out.
Yeah.
And it's the same energy. It's like, all right, here's a situation. This is what I'm seeing. This is the current situation. Like, how are we going to proceed? And then you could take 2 steps forward in one direction, and then you can change directions again.
Exactly.
What's the worst that can happen? But, like, use it to inform you rather than to discourage you. Always.
Right. I guess for me, my cap rising, like, when I have a decision, like, the decision is locked and loaded. I don't tend to waffle on my decisioning once the decision is made. So that's another reason why. It's another reason why that I don't really love getting read. It's a reason why I don't, I'm pretty quiet about a lot of things, because until I know fully for sure about something, I don't speak about it, and then once I know for sure, like, it's happening. Like,
but that's also your cap rising.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I think it's a lot of cap rising.
There's a lot of really valuable tools that you can tap into and you can consult with. So you can pull a card, you can pull a tarot card, you can pull an oracle card, consult with your angels, you can meditate, you can go for a reading. But astrology, There
Yeah.
are so many great indicators that are, significators in your chart where you can see where you may have challenges. You can get an astrology reading to check the transits and like, is this an ideal time? Is something going into retrograde? Like Mercury retrograde is not a time to be writing contracts.
Right.
It's a time to be going within. And then once things go direct, then you can take assertive external action and move things forward. So there are times where the energy will be more or less supportive for you. So it's important to inform yourself.
Right.
But, you can also know like what your inherent strengths are or where there's some challenges even in compatibility charts too between specific people if you may have some challenges with communication.
Right.
Because that can lend to more informed interpersonal communication and dealings of life. So
Right.
as long as you use it as an empowerment tool instead of like, ooh, I can't do that for the next year because it's written in the stars. That's nonsense.
Yeah, I think that if you look, I'm a firm believer. If you have to have a reading, for example, on your relationship with somebody, like specifically a romantic relationship where you're supposed to be vulnerable with that person and you need to have a relationship and you need to have a relationship reading where you're asking like, is this person into me? Like if it's not in like the early stages of infancy and like you've been with somebody for a couple of months and you need to go to like a stranger and have a reading about it, like the answer is probably no, right? The answer is no, they're not that into you. Like you would know. It's like that movie that Drew Barrymore was in. Like was
He's
it
just
actually
not that
called He's Not
into you?
Just That Into You? Yeah. Like it's
true.
Sort of obvious that like if people are really super into you, they're gonna like make you like really be aware of it. So like to your point earlier, like sometimes I do think that like we tend to get like hung up on these readings because we're looking for somebody to tell us that what we're experiencing is not true.
Right.
Right? So like you said, like you have a niggling feeling of something's going on, like you're in this relationship with somebody and you have a feeling that something's not right. So you're seeking these readings out for them to tell you that everything is fine, but it's not fine. It's not fine.
Okay, so people that seek out readings usually are not coming when everything's sunshine and rainbows. They normally have some concerns about like, what's going on with my family? What's going on with my career? What's going on with my finances? What's going on with my relationship? Because they're looking for some type of deeper insight, because at your core, you feel like something's off or could be better. So, we can even talk about personal, like when I was in my previous relationship, I would get readings and I knew something was off. And like the reader would pull cards and would be like, yeah, okay, this is surmountable. Because she was reading my current energy at the time. Guess what? It was not copacetic. It was not, but I knew something was wrong. It leaves clues. But if somebody keeps coming for readings, like maybe every week, and they keep asking the same questions and they're in the same situation, but yet they're not heeding any advice or suggestions based on what is being shown, then save your money. Like, what are you going to do? Because it's how you action upon that. And that's the same thing for any type of divination. You can pull runes. You can, look at the fate of your palm. You can
it's true.
You have to take it into consideration and decide how to proceed. But otherwise, you're just staying stagnant. So, it's energy. Everything, these serve as tools just to interpret and translate energy. So energy can be neither destroyed, it can just be transmuted. So like if you're stagnant and you're stuck in that rut, how do you get out of it?
Right.
And use it to figure out how to best proceed in an optimal way. What's in alignment with it? I tell my kids this all the time. And sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't.
As kids do.
Yeah. I mean, teenagers, you got to learn from themselves, right? But there's an easier way and a more difficult way. So as their parent, my goal is to guide them in accordance with everything I've learned to make recommendations to take the easier route. Now, if they're going to fight me tooth and nail and do it their way, well, okay, they might have some hardship along the way. And then I'll be sitting there, I'll help them. I might say a little, I told you so, but like, there's an easier way. So these types of readings will try to align you with your highest and greatest good. But listen, you can go for the bad boy, and then don't be upset when you like get burned.
Right.
Because you knew the risk assessment.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I really like using, tarot cards, oracle cards also as a tool to tap into your subconscious, your unconscious. What are those parts, like either in your shadow that need to come out? What's your inner child asking for? What are some themes that are, reoccurring that need to be healed? So for me, it's more so of like an inner reflection tool than an external reflection tool. Like I like to sort of pull a card a day to say like sort of how am I vibing? What's the state of like my headspace? Where am I? Versus like, am I going to make, $1 million in 3 months? Like,
Right.
Yeah, only if I work my ass off,
Right. I mean, you could do a simple 3-card spread, mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
Just to kind of check the energy of each of those aspects if you want. I like the idea of like a 2025 look ahead. And you could pull a card for like every month.
Yeah.
And just get like an energetic read and kind of map things out that way. Are you beholden to that? No. Will it inform maybe some things and projects that you want to do? Sure. If you're calling in your higher self and your spirit team and you say, hey, give me some insight, it can provide some insight. And then journal on it. Make a plan on it. How do you take the action steps after you receive that? So It's a continual process. Energy is constantly changing. So
and you're constantly changing. Like you said, like we're not stagnant beings. So like if you get a reading and you're like, this was an unsavory reading. Like I wish I didn't hear any of this crap. You can choose to pretend it never happened because and you can change things. You say, but who knows also, we could also say that like the anecdote of the author that had those 2 readings that told them that they were going to have a terrible financial year, that the reading was the impetus to turn around the terrible financial year. Because if she wasn't given the warning that the year was going to be shat, maybe they wouldn't have given the extra push and to change things.
She could have just delayed and been like, I'm not going to meet my deadlines. Like, I'm not going to put myself out there. So maybe
having somebody say, like, again, reading your current energy, and of course, everything is the way it's presented, right? Like, there is bedside manner when you're delivering readings for people. But, all things considered, like, this is what I'm seeing based upon your energy right now. And then guess what? They get to choose, I don't want to be in this energy anymore.
Right. Right. And just like if you're in a bad relationship with anybody, a bad relationship with your job, a bad relationship with your spouse, with friendships, you can choose to keep crappy friends around you or stay in a really crummy situation. And that's your choice. But then you can't be surprised about it. But then if you can choose to think about an exit strategy or choose healthier boundaries. And like change and growth and evolution usually results from discomfort because it's a signal that something has to change.
Right.
So that's the same thing as this, and I think as long as you're thoughtful about how you utilize this, it's a very valuable practice and tool. So you have to find what works best for you. If it's astrology, if it's runes, if it's meditating out in nature, if it's, going for a quarterly astrology interpretation or, a monthly reading, find somebody that you vibe with and that you trust and keep your own self in check. Like record those sessions or like journal about it. And then check your progress. Have you made any changes? Have you established stronger boundaries with people that don't have your best interest? And like track how life is going.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I would recommend. Yeah.
Wouldn't be a podcast without like the loudest motorcycle on all of Long Island having to drive
That happens every time. There has to be some sort of a distraction every time we record because, the universe is testing us and we go with it.
I was like, that was an aggressive motorcycle. That's okay.
Wants to make himself known.
Meanwhile, poor Mark in the background was like, I could have edited that out and now everybody, I'm just going to leave it in. He's like, now the motorcycle is in.
It's staying.
Listen,
maybe
it could
that's
have
a sign.
It's a confirmation. It's a confirmation from the spirit guides. It was like snaps on what we were saying, I think.
Listen, there's signs everywhere. Maybe something exciting and bold is coming into our existence. Who knows? Nothing surprises me. But keep in mind, the veil is thin. We are entering into fall. It's starting to get darker, and soon enough it's going to be Samhain, Halloween, All Saints Eve, All Souls Day. So
I actually saw a really funny creator. I wish I knew who they were. And they were like, it was another podcast creator. It wasn't like a witchy or a spiritual podcast or anything. And he was like, I see these people and it's Halloween and they're pulling out their tarot cards. And he's like, I want to know the people who have been like training for this. Like they're pulling tarot cards in April.
all year round.
Yeah, all year round. Like this is us. Like we're like for me, I'm like, Samhain, Halloween. Like, so it's like, love it. Veil is thin, like easy access to spirits. But like, we've been like, this is like go time for us. Like we've been training for this all year long. So
are you ready for this?
Seriously.
Yeah. And one other thing I do want to say, this is an ongoing process, guys. Always be a student. Always be open to learning new perspectives, learning and hearing, being open to like considering things differently. It might not be something you've considered. Be open to a new technique. Like runes are really kind of coming up in my sight. I'm like, that's interesting. Like, why is that coming up in my thoughts? Maybe I have to like focus on learning a new thing. We have a Lenormand class coming up. I never knew Lenormand as a divination process. I really like it. So I'm looking forward to our class so I can learn more about it. But like, just because you're a practitioner and you're like familiar with your specific few things, like branch out, expand, explore. And I think that that's really fun to just always like, I don't know, just be open to learning and to take it in. And how do you choose to proceed from there? That would be some parting
don't
wisdom.
get nervous.
Yeah, no,
like there's nothing to get nervous
just
about.
have fun with it, because you can always decision on the next thing. Always. That's the best part.
Right, never stuck. It's not
never
like
too old.
You don't get like a reading and you're like, that's it. That's my fate. I can't change anything. Forget it. I'm not going to try anymore. Like, so, like, you don't have to worry about that.
I'm using a different deck this time. So we like to pull a card just to kind of like check the energy. But I love this. Talking about like be playful and fun. This is called the Catacorn Tarot by our friend Pamela Chen. It's so fun and playful.
It's very cute.
So the
Danielle loves the cats.
I love the cats. I do.
Love cats. I want to put them in a basket.
They're cute.
With a bow.
Oh,
Love cats.
These little cards are like flying everywhere.
A YouTube oldie but goodie.
They're hilarious.
It's the cats lady. Remember the dating app?
Yeah.
When she did the video? And she said,
I'm not quite.
I have an MBA and I love cats.
It's just a really fun, whimsical, playful deck. So again, trying not to keep things so serious, you can just find a fun little deck that you like and just go with that. If it makes you happy, get the message.
Serious with me shuffling these cards like an absolute disgusting piece of crap.
Mine? Oh, strength. So it's so cute. There's a little baby kitten with a big pink bow and white paws and a little pink nose and a little pink horn, but next to the lion. And it's very friendly. So it's aspirational and friendly, but like this little kitty cat is seeing himself in the reflection of the lion. And he can be fierce, but also just very loving and nurturing too. So strength can appear in many different ways. You don't have to use the brute force of the motorcycle passing. You can just like be playful and gentle, but like be strong in your nurturance and caring and compassion. And then you could be fierce if you have to, but like that's very strong and nurturing and safe in like a passive, natural state. I like that energy.
I do. I love the energy of strength. I think like strength is also like you said, like a reminder that being strong isn't about just brute force. right? There's so many other qualities of human beings that make you strong and make you secure. And it's not just how big you are, how many muscles you have, or how many pull-ups you can do. I'm looking at you more.
All right. What card do you have?
I have the 7 of Pentacles, which is really interesting because as a Cap rising, I always see the 7 of Pentacles as hurry up and grow. I'm resting my head, my chin on my hoe. I don't know if that's really a hoe, but I want to say that. And I'm looking at everything I planted and it's like not growing fast enough. But as I've gotten older, I've sort of shifted my perspective on the 7 of Pentacles, having it be to like making sure to reflect on the work that you're doing in the process of your work, that it isn't always the end result of like the thing growing and being born into the world. It's looking at how far you've come along this journey of bringing something into your life. Right? Like, wow, I planted this and so far it's like doing pretty good, right?
Wait, so Tears for Fears just came into my head.
Okay.
Sowing the seeds of love.
It is. It's very seeds of love.
So that's what's happening. I mean, like,
Yes.
this is everything we're talking about. You're planting the seeds, you're using these tools, you're honing your skills, you're taking things into consideration, and it's an ongoing process. And you will get stronger, and you can aspire to like be the grand poobah, but like it's all just like a safe place to explore and grow and learn from people that you know and trust. And boundaries are important as part of that process, but you're learning. So keep sowing the seeds.
Exactly. I love it. Well,
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. New season, new ideas, new topics. We want to hear from you. What do you want us to talk about? Leave us a comment. Make sure you're subscribing, sharing with your friends. You can find us on all the social media channels at Amityville Apothecary. Our website is shopamityvilleapothecary.com. And we thank you so much for spending this time with us, and we'll see you again on the next episode.
Wait, and guys, we have so many fun activities and events coming up. So be sure to check it out because not only do we have them here in person, but they're also virtual and we've got a stellar lineup. So be sure to check out our website because there is a whole killer lineup of classes and events. And we hope to see you then.
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for listening to us today. We look forward to connecting with you again soon, so be sure to come back for the next episode.
And make sure to follow us on social media. It's the fastest way you can get in touch with us at Amityville Apothecary, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And of course, like, subscribe to this podcast. We are eternally grateful for your support.